I'm going to tell you a story. Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, not in a fairy tale, not in a kingdom, but in a tiny, sleepy neighborhood of Pali district of Rajasthan, there lived a girl. Just like Cinderella, she was born into circumstances that put limitations and hurdles in her ways and whispered to her that she was not meant to dream too big. Just like Cinderella, she lived a life where dreams seemed absurd, where biggest expectations from girls were limited to teach them how to make perfectly round chapatis, how to master the skills like sewing clothes, learning embroidery, knitting sweaters, and to keep in mind that biggest achievement in the life of a girl is to get married. But unlike Cinderella, she was not having a fairy godmother and she was not having a pumpkin carriage either. Rather, she was having interest in reading books and willingness to work hard, to work very, very hard. And also, unlike Cinderella, she was not having a girl with glass slippers, but she was a girl born with bones as fragile as glass. She was having a rare genetic disorder that's called osteogenesis imperfecta. So by the time she was a teenager, she had a history of more than 16 fractures and 8 corrective surgeries. So every fall was not a fall. Every twist of leg was not merely a twist of leg for her. It used to be a full-blown fracture which used to bind her in plaster of Paris for months and months together and used to make her immobile for a long time. So in order to correct that, she had to undergo several corrective surgeries where the steel rods were inserted in her thighs and her lower legs so that the fragile bones could be strengthened, which can enable her for standing and walking and bearing her weight. So today, the story that I'm going to tell you is not a story of glass slippers or ballroom dance or prince favor which elevated Cinderella to become a palace princess. Rather, I'm telling you a story of toil, of hard work. I'm telling you a story of a girl who decided to rise above the ashes of abandonment, disability, poverty, hardship, and chose a life of passion and purpose over the life of sympathy and pity. So here the story goes. In Pali district of Rajasthan, when this girl was less than a year old, her father walked away, leaving behind her mother and her siblings. So in Cinderella's story, she used to sleep by the fireplace and where ashes used to clung to her skin. But in the story of this girl, the ashes were metaphorical. They were debris of broken bones and debris of a broken family. So shattered by circumstances, her mother picked up chalk instead of tears and started teaching the children of neighborhood areas to mate both ends. But as the circumstances were very much against her, and the trauma and the responsibility of raising disabled children as single mother, she started to wear down. She started to having schizophrenia. The mother of the children started to having hallucinations. She started to having all kinds of delusions There used to be days when she would mistake the strangers and for enemies and what not. So in this circumstance, there was no source of income left as the mother had become jobless. So there would be days when the kitchen light would not fire. There would be nothing to eat. The only food they used to had was boiled wheat with pinch of salt, which would be cooked over the wooden sticks that the brother of girl would collect from the neighborhood area. As there was no source of income, soon the bills remain unpaid. So say for example, one day the people from electricity department came and cut the electricity connection. Thus, darkness attempted to become companion, not in a metaphorical, but in literal sense. The brother of the girl was around 10 years old that time. He had to get dropped out of school and he started to work as a child labor. And it was that moment of time that the grandmother of the girl, who used to live in another village, decided that this girl should be sent to Delhi to her father so that the responsibility on the shoulder of the young boy could be eased. So it was thus that this little girl of around 5-year-old of age came to Delhi. So in Delhi, there was no mice friend, there was no protection of fairy godmother, rather there was a stepmother and 4 stepsisters who viewed her arrival as utterly unwelcomed event. As her stepmother had her own 4 daughters and all of them dropped out of school by the time they reached 5th standard. And there was this girl going to school every day, topping each class, adored by all the teachers. And that was unexpected. So the mother could not bear the fact that this girl was topping each class and thriving when her own daughters were failing to complete primary education. So the mother started a campaign to crush the spirit of little girl, first in a subtle manner and then with all the forces that mother could garner. So her school books used to get destroyed, her uniform used to go missing. Just few days before her 10th class examination, her 10th class admit card go missing. And there used to be such thing every single day. And the mother used to tell her that girls with disability are bound to live miserable life. And the girl with disability should have the attitude of submission and servitude so that they can gain the sympathy of people around and can live life under their protection and support. So as the financial condition of the house in Delhi was also not good, this girl started giving tuition to the children around when she herself was in 7th standard. So she used to come from school by around 3 p.m. and she started to give tuition from 3 p.m. in the afternoon to 11 p.m. in the night every day without any break of Saturday and Sundays. And she used to give all the meager income that she used to have to her mother in the hope that mother would not object her going to school. But she was wrong in this assumption. There is a moment in Cinderella's tale when clocks strike 12 and all the magic fades. And in the life of this girl, the moment came when her family told her that she would not be allowed to study after class 8. This girl cried, she pleaded, she tried to make them understand how important education was for her, but in no vain. When she insisted to get the admission in 9th standard, her family threatened to send her back to Rajasthan. And going back to Rajasthan to ailing schizophrenic mother and to brother who has been working as a child labor would have destroyed her life. So she decided to live by her own. She decided to live in a separate rented room, as she was financially independent by the time she was in, since the time she was in 7th standard. So she took a rented apartment, took admission in 9th standard and continued her education. So in this scenario, in very tough circumstances, she topped 10th class. She stood first in 12th class. And with very much hardship, she graduated from University of Delhi in Applied Psychology Honours. The choice of psychology as her graduation subject was because it was a kind of tribute to her mother who had succumbed to schizophrenia. Then she went ahead to Jawaharlal Nehru University. She did her master's, she did her MPhil in international studies, and then she went ahead to do PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University in international studies. So the girl who had to fight to complete her primary schooling, middle schooling, was doing PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University. And in the meantime, she started to represent persons with disability at several international platforms. And then came the moment of UPSC. UPSC is considered as one of the toughest examination in the world. And in the childhood, when she used to tell people around that I want to become a senior bureaucrat, everyone used to make fun of her. So at the time when she was in Japan representing Indian youth with disabilities, so in that stay in Japan, she prepared her strategy for UPSC examination. The choice of optional paper, the strategy for the mains examination, the skill of essay writing, the sources for reading current affairs, the previous year's question papers and everything that comprised UPSC examination. All the strategy was made when she was already in Japan. So when she came back to India, she wrote the UPSC exam and she cleared the exam in her first attempt. So it was not that one of the toughest exam in the world was cracked. It was the belief that we are defined by our circumstances. This belief was cracked. At the day of UPSC examination's result, she was not saved by a fairy godmother or a prince. She had saved herself. So in the story of Cinderella, all the difference was of a glass slipper. In the story of this girl, the difference was of a hard work and her education, which was her ticket out of poverty, out of hardship and prejudice. So Cinderella might have got her way to palace given by the prince, but this girl found her way to the governance, bureaucracy and public service. So ladies and gentlemen, and dear one all, there is Cinderella in each one of us, waiting to rise, waiting to cover the journey from rejection to reverence. The fairy godmother that you might be searching around, it is you. The beautiful glass slippers that you might be trying to locate around, it is your dream. Beautiful and perfectly fit if you dare to wear it. And the palace that you might try to locate, that is not a place, that is your life that you curate when you decide to live your life with passion and purpose. So in the end, I'm standing here as KHER, that girl, not as that girl, but as representative of all those girls that might be prevented to go to schools, all that boys who might be too afraid to dream big, or every person with disability who might be getting burdened with self-doubt, or any person who might be labeled as too weak, too much not enough, and too poor, or something like that. So in the end, I want to tell you that there is no magic that you want, there is no fairy godmother that your life needed. You just require a confidence in yourself and a belief that you would be able to decide what should be end of your story. Because in the end, it is not the fairy that is around, the real magic is lying in you. Thank you very much.